Welcome back, everybody. This is Kaiana from the Hear Me Out Sports Podcast, talking Week 7 running backs, who to start, who to sit. Let's get to it. All right, welcome back in, talking Week 7 here. We're looking at the teams that are on bye. So we got the Bills, we got the Rams, we got the Vikings, and we got the Eagles. So make sure that you have any running backs on those rosters that you get them out of your starting spots, obviously, because you're going to get 0 points. So, I mean, the main ones there that people are probably starting, obviously the Vikings, you got Dalvin Cook, so get him out of your lineup. Eagles, Miles Sanders has been really good this year as well. But if you got the Bills and you've been playing Devin Singletary, or the Rams and you've been playing Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers obviously non-factor here, but Darrell Henderson, then get him out of your lineup. They're not playing this week, so yep. We're talking, again, each individual game we're going to go through, and we're going to break it down who we think you should start, who I think you should sit based on just running backs alone. You can check out my other videos that cover wide receivers every week, and then Jace has you covered with tight ends and quarterbacks on who to start, who to sit. We go game by game, and we break it down. So Week 7, the Thursday night game this week is the Saints and the Cardinals. And one thing I forgot to say, so the threshold that we're saying, and this is PPR, full PPR, so 1 point per reception leagues. So we're talking we should start the player if they're going to score at least 13 points. So where do we get that 13 points from? For running backs specifically, the 13 points is the average of the top 12 running backs from the last few seasons. So if they're scoring 13 points, they're a running back 1 on the week typically. So if you score 13 or more points, then we're going to recommend a start. So like I said, New Orleans Saints, Arizona Cardinals is the Thursday night game this week. I don't know how much action I'm going to expect just because Thursdays have been disappointment, but the Saints and the Cardinals are a little bit better teams than what we've seen lately. So Saints side, I'm starting Alvin Kamara. I don't think you were going to sit him ever this year, no matter how bad he started the season, but he had a good game last week. I expect him to have another good game this week against the Cardinals defense that's mediocre at best. So give me Kamara to start. But on the Cardinals side, even if James Conner plays, I'm not starting him. Eno Benjamin didn't seem capable of handling a full workload, so I'm not starting him. And Darrell Williams, I'm also keeping on the bench. So in this game, the only person I'm even thinking of starting is Alvin Kamara, and I'm definitely putting him in the lineup. The Falcons and the Bengals. So Tyler Algier is the current RB1 on Atlanta because Cordell Patterson obviously is hurt. And I like Algier's matchup here against the Bengals. Bengals defense has been subpar, especially against run. So I'm starting Algier on a run-first Atlanta Falcons team. And I think that if anything, if the Bengals get up in the game, like I expect they do, the Falcons might have to throw a little bit more, but that just could help Algier. He can catch a few passes. So I expect Algier to score at least 13 points. Bengals side, Joe Mixon, I think he'll score at least 1 touchdown, and I'm definitely thinking that he's going to score 13 plus. So I got Mixon and I got Algier, the 2 starting running backs in this game that you should fire up and put in your lineup. Lions and Cowboys. So the Lions were obviously scoring a lot of points early on in the season. Their last game, though, they didn't score any, literally 0 points against the Patriots, and then they were on bye last week. So I'm a little bit hesitant here, but DeAndre Swift, just because of his versatility in catching passes as well as running, I'm starting DeAndre Swift. They had a week to prepare for the Cowboys. So if DeAndre Swift is playing, I'm definitely starting him. But if DeAndre Swift is out and Jamal Williams is the starter, I'm sitting Jamal Williams. So I'm sitting Jamal Williams whether or not he's the starter or he's the running back 2 for the Lions. But if DeAndre Swift plays, I'm putting him in the game. Cowboys side, sitting Pollard, even though the Lions D is not good. I'm sitting Pollard. I'm starting Zeke Elliott. I think Zeke Elliott scores at least 1 touchdown, but could end up getting 2. If Dak Prescott's back, I think the deep pass will be there. But if anything, it'll just set up Zeke with some goal line carries. So give me Zeke starting against a really bad Lions defense, giving up all kinds of points. And if DeAndre Swift plays, start him. But if not, don't start any of the Lions running backs. Colts Titans. So Colts, I have a little caveat here. It's whoever the starting running back is for the Colts. So if Jonathan Taylor's healthy enough to start, I'm starting him. But if Deion Jackson's healthy enough to start, he was RB1 last week. So he proved, and when I say RB1, I don't mean just for the Colts. I mean for the entire league last week. He had a great game. So give me Taylor or Deion Jackson, whoever the starting running back is. And then I'm going to sit obviously if Jonathan Taylor starts, then I'm sitting Deion Jackson. I'm sitting Nyheim Hines whether or not he plays. I don't care. Tennessee Titans starting Derrick Henry. They don't really have great wide receivers to throw to, especially Treylon Burks, who's their rookie wideout. He's on IR right now. So Derrick Henry is going to get a lot of run, and I expect him to definitely be a stardom. And honestly, if you have Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry on your team, you're probably just starting them every week, set and forget. So I'm starting those guys for sure. Packers and Commanders. So Packers have been frustrating as far as who to start on from their team on your fantasy football team. So this week I'm feeling Aaron Jones having a good game, having a good big game, and he'll get more run. I think that LaFleur kind of regrets not giving him the ball more in their last game. So I expect Aaron Jones to have a good game this week against the Commanders, who aren't very good. But I'm sitting A.J. Dillon. I think A.J. Dillon, if he does break that 13 points, is going to be because he scores a touchdown. So I think he's touchdown dependent in this one. He hasn't looked as good as people made him out to be this year. So I think A.J. Dillon on most people, to most people, has been a bit of a disappointment this year. But I'm starting Aaron Jones. On the Commander side, I don't care if it's Robinson, who honestly didn't look good. He looked bad last week in his first start. I get that he's coming back from gunshot wounds, but the Commanders seem obsessed with him, specifically Ron Rivera. They seem like they think Brian Robinson is this elite running back. And yeah, he runs angry, but it's not great if you run angry if you're only running for 2 yards. So I don't like Brian Robinson's production at all. I think Antonio Gibson is the much better running back, and he's proved it. He's more explosive. He's better at catching passes, but he's also better at running the football. So I'm shocked that they're not using Gibson and that Gibson's in Ron Rivera's doghouse. He must have slept with his wife or something because Ron Rivera seems to hate him. I'm sitting both of those guys. Brian Robinson because of skill, I'm sitting him. I just don't think he's capable of producing. And Antonio Gibson, I'm sitting him because he's in the doghouse. So don't start any Commanders, but start Aaron Jones on the Packers side. Bucks, Panthers. Panthers, Christian McCaffrey, you're starting no matter what, and you should because he's been good every single game this year, even without scoring a lot of touchdowns. So definitely starting Christian McCaffrey, sorry. Tampa Bay Bucks, I'm starting Leonard Fournette. The Panthers defense is actually, they're a good defense, believe it or not. They're my favorite team, so I could be a little bit of a homer, but their defenses look pretty dang good this year, especially against the pass. They have, if J.C. Horn is playing, I should say. So if J.C. Horn is playing, then they've been good against the pass, but if not, then could be a little different. But I expect, if anything, the Panthers to really not have the ball much. Their quarterbacks are all bad, and they've all played bad this year. So I don't think they're going to possess the ball much. I think the Bucs can have the ball a lot during this game, and it's going to wear out the Panthers' defense, and that's going to be Leonard Fournette getting a lot of carries and a lot of work in the passing game. So start Leonard Fournette. Obviously start Christian McCaffrey. Giants, Jaguars. Giants, again, very similar to CMC, Saquon Barkley. If you got him on your roster, you're starting him, and he's also had a great year. Jacksonville Jaguars, ETN is the running back to own. Even though James Robinson early in the year was getting most of the touches, it's switched over, and ETN's been the guy that the Jaguars have been relying on and going with. So definitely stick with ETN on this one, sitting James Robinson. Browns, Ravens. Chubb, I'm starting. He's probably the best actual running back, not including anything else, running the ball just straight up. He's the best running back in the league, so definitely start Nick Chubb for the Browns. Sitting Kareem Hunt, though, this week, even though the Ravens are pretty susceptible to the pass, I don't think Kareem Hunt's going to get enough volume this week to be worth starting. On the Ravens side, J.K. Dobbins dinged up. If he was fully healthy, I'd definitely be starting him, but he's dinged up. Kenyon Drake's flash in the pan. He had a good game last week, but I'm not expecting again. I'm not starting any of the Ravens. I think that they're going to have to throw to win, or Lamar Jackson's going to be doing most of the running for their team. So only starting Chubb in this game. Jets, Broncos. Currently, probably the front runner for Rookie of the Year is Breece Hall for the Jets, and he's only getting more and more volume as the season goes on. He's pretty much completely overtaken Michael Carter in that backfield. The Broncos are not good. Their offense is bad. I don't expect this to be a super high-scoring game. So I think Breece Hall is going to get most of the work on the Jets side. They're going to run the ball. He's also a good pass catcher. He's proven that. He's got explosive 20-plus yard plays. So I like Breece Hall a lot. I'm starting him this week against the Broncos. But I'm not starting any of the Broncos. Latavius Murray apparently is the current starter. Javonte Williams obviously at IR. Everyone thought Melvin Gordon or Mike Boone would be the guys getting the most of the touches, but this week it completely switched. I think Latavius Murray had over 15 touches and did basically nothing with any of them. Melvin Gordon had, I think, 4 total touches, catches, and rushing attempts, and obviously didn't do much. So benching both of those guys. Broncos coaching staff is terrible. Their running game has been terrible outside Javonte Williams all year. So I'm sitting Gordon. I'm sitting Latavius Murray. Obviously sitting Mike Boone because he's not even getting volume. Texans Raiders. I'm expecting to be a relatively high scoring game. I think Dameon Pierce has proved that even on a bad team, he's worth starting. So I'm starting Dameon Pierce. And the Raiders, Josh Jacobs has been a workhorse all year, surprisingly. So I'm starting Josh Jacobs against a bad Texans team. I think both Dameon Pierce and Josh Jacobs score a touchdown in this game. Seahawks Chargers. I'm starting the running back for the Seahawks. It doesn't matter who's starting for them. I'm starting that running back, and that is Kenneth Walker right now. Obviously, Shad Penny is on IR. He's done for the year. Kenneth Walker is going to be good. He had a great first start last week, and I just expect it to continue against a really porous Chargers run defense. So give me Kenneth Walker this week. But obviously, sit Travis Homer. He's not doing anything. Kenneth Walker's getting all the volume. Austin Eckler on the Chargers side, another one of those running backs where if you drafted him, you're playing him every week regardless. So I'm starting him. I think that it is important to note, though, that he has been entirely receiving dependent this year for his scoring. So last game he had 30 rushing yards, but he had 10 catches and a touchdown. So, I mean, Austin Eckler, he's almost the Deebo Samuel role right now. They're doing the exact same thing where they get 4 or 5 rush attempts a game, but they're catching a bunch of passes and scoring touchdowns. But Austin Eckler's called the running back and Deebo's called the receiver. So kind of funny there. But yeah, I'm starting Eckler regardless, but specifically because of his passing upside, his pass catching upside. Chiefs, Niners, I'm not starting a running back on either of these teams. Both of them have proven to kind of be a bit inept. Specifically on the Chiefs side, we don't even know who's going to get the most touches in the game. Some weeks it's Jarrett McKinnon, some weeks it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and some weeks it's Isaiah Pacheco. So I think Edwards-Helaire has fallen out of favor with that offense. He's still getting some touches and whatnot. And like I said, some weeks he'll lead the backfield in touches, but he's entirely touchdown dependent and has been throughout the year. So his big start to the season, as far as fantasy points go, was kind of gimmicky. Jerick McKinnon, I think if there's any running back to own this year in the Chiefs backfield, it's probably McKinnon. But again, he's not getting enough volume, and neither is Isaiah Pacheco to really score enough points. So I'm sitting all those guys. The Niners side, Jeff Wilson Jr., in a game that should have been good last week against the Falcons, did absolutely nothing. So I'm putting him on the bench this week, especially because I think the Niners will be trailing. They're going to have to throw the ball against Kansas City. Steelers, Dolphins, another game where I'm not starting any running backs. I said at the beginning of the year, and you guys should have listened to me if you didn't, to not draft Najee Harris, that Najee Harris was in 100% volume base last year, led the league by almost 30 touches last year. So Najee Harris has been extremely inefficient with his opportunities so far in the NFL, and it's only shown up more this year, and he hasn't got nearly as many touches as he did last year. So Najee Harris, I'm putting on the bench almost every game right now. He's a touchdown-dependent running back at this point. Jaylen Warren has seemed to be the way more explosive and dynamic running back in the Steelers' backfield. And even though Mike Thomas said, he's going to get more opportunities and stuff, and he got, I think, only 2 carries last week, I think that Jaylen Warren is the better running back in the backfield, and Najee Harris is not the guy to own. So I'm benching both of those guys right now. Harris because he's inefficient, and Jaylen Warren because he has a lack of opportunity. Dolphins side, they're going to throw the ball because that's what they're the best at. Raheem Mostert is, on almost any other team he wouldn't be starting and probably wouldn't be getting a lot of opportunity, but on the Dolphins, they're not good enough in the backfield to really do anything. So Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds was scoring a bunch of touchdowns at the beginning of the year, and that's dried up. So I'm sitting both of those guys on the Dolphins side. Last game of the week is that Monday night game. It's the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots. The Bears I'm worried about because the only thing they can do is even a little bit good is run the ball, and New England shuts down whatever the other team does best. They completely target that and shut it down. So I don't think the Bears are going to have a good game running. I don't think that their team is honestly good at really anything, but if they're okay at anything that's running, and I don't think Montgomery or Khalil Herbert are going to have those splash plays that warrant you starting. So I'm sitting both of those guys this week. But I do acknowledge that David Montgomery specifically might be a guy on who's owned by a lot of teams that they don't have a lot of options at running back. So he might be your best option at running back. You might have to play David Montgomery, but I definitely don't think he finishes as a RB1 this week. New England Patriots, though, Ramondre Stevenson is definitely going to finish as a running back one. The Chicago Bears defense is bad. They're really bad against the run, and Patriots love to run the ball, whether that's with the rookie Bailey Zappi, who I touted at the beginning of the season, who's had a great year in his first 2 games, or Mac Jones. So Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for the Patriots, they're going to feed Ramondre the ball. He's had a couple of really good games with Damian Harris out injured, so that's just going to continue. I really like Stevenson this week. And that wraps up, like I said, with the Monday night game. That wraps up Week 7. Excited for this week to see kind of what happens. Running backs have kind of been finicky this year. It seems like this fantasy year, in my recollection, has been one of the years where running backs have mattered either the least or the most, depending on how you look at it. The least meaning that none of the running backs have seemed to score a ton of points, but you could say, oh, they matter the most because those 5 guys, the Saquon Barkleys, Christian McCaffreys, Austin Eckler's, those kind of guys, if you own any of them, you have such a leg up on your competition because the gap between the elite running back, the top 5 running back, and the 15th or 16th running back is pretty wide right now. So acknowledge that you might not have many options as far as running backs go of who to start, but this is just my advice if you have choice, especially if you're flex positions. If you're thinking of starting a running back or thinking of starting a receiver, check this out. Check this video out as well as my last one that I just did that we put up yesterday. That was about wide receivers of who to start, who to sit. A lot more wide receivers are worth starting this year instead of running backs. So as always, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube. You can, and I say hit like, but I don't even care if you hit the dislike button on YouTube or if you comment negative to us on Twitter or on Instagram. I love it. We love getting as much interaction as possible. So let us know if you have any starter sit questions. We answer stuff live all the time, or I should say we answer stuff in real time, meaning you hit us on Twitter, we'll respond pretty quick. You hit us on Instagram, we'll respond quick. We love answering questions, and we're always here for you guys, help you guys win your games and win your league. As always, when in doubt, hear me out.